What's up, everybody? Let's jump on the magic school bus and learn how to play blackjack. Now, first thing we need to know how to do is know what the values of our cards are. So if you have a jack, queen, king, or a 10, those are all worth 10 points. Those are always worth 10 points. The ace is kind of interesting here. You can either have the ace be worth 1 or worth 11, which is very interesting. You get to choose. All right, then on the bottom here, you can see all the 2 is a 2, the 3 is a 3, the 4 is a 4, all the way up to 9 is a 9. All right. Now, for blackjack, you are competing against the dealer, and you are trying to get closest to 21 or exactly 21 without going over. And if you can't do that, if you can't get to 21, you have to try to beat the dealer without going over, meaning you have to get closer to 21 than the dealer. So when you play, the dealer usually sits, right here on this side of the table, and you can tell right here that one of their cards is face down and one is face up. So let's say we have a card face down, and then we also have a 5. Okay, that's what you get to see. And then the dealer puts, you've got a bunch of people who are playing, they get 2 cards face up. So in this case, how many people are playing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In our case, so let's just say 3 people are playing. So these 2 people, that person would get those 2 cards, this person would get these 2 cards, and this person would get these 2. And let's say that this is a 7 and a 10. Let's say that this is a 4 and a 6. And let's say this is an ace and a jack. All right, now which person has the best hand? It is this person right here. They have 21. They have blackjack. So that person automatically gets paid. They automatically win because they have blackjack. All right. Now, what's going on here? This is very interesting and very informative. If a dealer at the very end of this game, the players go first, if they have a 16 or less, they have to hit. And hit is a fancy word for they have to get another card. So if you have 16 or less, the dealer has to ask for another card, and they call that hit. Okay? If the dealer has a 17 or higher, they have to stay. Stay means not ask for another card. So they have to stay. And the dealer is limited to these actions because they don't want the dealer to be an all-knowing dealer. They want it to basically be kind of like a computer where it says, if it's less than 16 or less, must hit. If 17 or more, must stay. Right? We don't want an actual rational adult playing the dealer. So 16 or less have to hit, have to get another card. 17 or higher, they're going to have to stay. So knowing that, this person here has a 7 and a 10, and they have to decide, should I get another card or should I stay? Well, remember, if you get over 21, you bust. That's the word for bust, means you go over and you automatically lose. So this person probably chooses to stay. And it's a little risky. They don't have that high of a hand, but they'd rather have a lower hand than bust. Okay, 4 and a 6, this is an absolute hit, right? Because there's no card that would make them go over. So let's say they get a 5. All right, now they're at 15, and they're thinking, well, this person has, I don't know, possibly a 15, possibly less. They might bust, I don't know. So they decide to hit again. And this is a tough choice at 15, but let's say they choose to hit again. And let's say they get a jack. Okay, what happened to that person? Well, where are they at? They're at 25, so they have busted. They have automatically lost. All right, now after, obviously this person's going to stay because they've got 21. They wouldn't even have to say stay. They'd automatically be paid. Here, the dealer has to flip over this card, and they get, looks like they get a king. Okay, now what is the dealer going to have to do? The dealer is going to have to have to get another card based off of the rules that I told you. This is always the case here. So let's say they get another card, as they have to, and they get a 7, and that is over 21. So your dealer also busts. So who wins? Well, 17 didn't bust, and it certainly beats the dealer that busted. So this is a win, and this was a win as well. All right, that's the basic premises. You're trying to get the closest to 21 as possible without busting. And if you aren't that high, like a 17, you're hoping that the dealer busts so that you at least have either a higher score than them or the dealer busts and you automatically win if you haven't busted yourself. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about card counting. It's kind of interesting here that there is this math that's already been done for you that said if the dealer has a 5, right? This is a situation that we just did. If they have a 5 showing, the probability that they bust out, look at that, it's 42.89%. That's the highest possible. That's kind of makes sense though, right? Because they're going to have to hit on 15. So this would be a really interesting situation where you might want to stay lower, stay on a lower value because you have a higher probability of the dealer busting. What kind of things would make the dealer bust? Okay, this is really important when we think about why we card count. So let's think about the fact that this was a face down card for the dealer and then there was a 5. Well, typically we have a higher probability of getting a 10 card here. So in theory, we have something like a 15er, or maybe it's a 9, or maybe it's an 8, but basically we have something like this, a 15. What would make this dealer bust? Well, a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10, a jack, a queen, and a king would all make the dealer bust if that was dealt to them. So what ideally do we want in our deck in order for the dealer to bust? We want high cards. We want high cards because they have a higher probability of busting, right? If they're forced to hit on cards like 15 and 14 and 16, we want there to be a bunch of high cards in the deck so that the dealer busts and we automatically win. So that's what card counting does. It keeps track of what type of cards are in the deck, and it gives you an understanding of how many high cards are left, because we want high cards. We want the dealer to bust. All right, let's do a little bit of an example here. And before we do, let's look at what the value of the cards are. All right. Think about this. Let's say we have a bunch of cards that are out on the table. All right, and we are going to assign point values to them. If we see a bunch of low cards, okay, let's say literally we a bunch of cards were dealt, you know, like this. Let's say there was a 2, there was a 3, there was a 4, there was a 5, there was a 6, and there was a 4. These would all be +1 cards. And we would literally just be keeping track of that. So that would be 2, 4, 6. So right here, our count would be at +6. High counts are good. Why is a high count good? Well, what have we just taken out of the deck? We just took out some really low cards. So what does that mean? What is left in our deck? That's right, we have high cards left in our deck. And that's a good thing, as I just explained on the last slide, because there's higher chance of our dealer busting. So a +6, although not outstanding, is in favor of the players because the dealer has a higher chance of busting because the high cards are left in the deck. So let's go back and look at these values. Remember, we want high cards in the deck, so every time we see one of these cards, we're going to add one, meaning we've removed the low cards from the deck. These are kind of neutral, so we don't do anything there. We don't add or subtract from our count. And here, this is bad, right? We don't really want to see these cards, especially the ace is one of the best because it's a 1 and a 11. So here, these cards are bad because as soon as we take high cards out of the deck, then the dealer is less likely to bust, right? If we think back to this situation here, if we had only low cards left in our deck because we've taken out the high cards, imagine if this was like a 4, right? This would no longer be a bust, this would be a 19. Okay, so in this situation, we're sad, we're not happy because we're taking out the high cards, which are leaving us with the low cards, and that's advantageous to the dealer. All right, so let's go ahead and let me give you a little bit of a challenge here. So you want to be able to do this really fast, and that's really the challenge. It's not hard at all, but it does take practice making sure you can do it really fast. And I just want to be clear, I don't actually promote gambling. In fact, I've never been to a casino and gambled my entire life, and there's a reason why those casinos are so gosh darn nice. It's because people spend their money there and they lose their money, and everything is in favor of the casino. However, you should know that blackjack is actually one of the best games in terms of probabilities. All right, let's go ahead, and you should be able to do this really, really fast, but 7's neutral, 10 is +1, -1, +2, 3 is a +1, +1, +1, -1, neutral, oh, no, that's a +1, +1, -1, +1. And then obviously the dealer here is +1. All right, so where are we at here? Well, it's really nice to kind of group things up and say, okay, this is, what did I do? +2 is +1. This is going to be a 0, right? A +1 and a -1. This is a 0. Let's see, this is a 0. And so we're left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our count is +5. And so that's pretty good, you know, I mean, it's not great. I really wouldn't bet crazily higher if you're at a +5. I'd say once you're at like +15, you're really at a much higher count rate, much better rate. And so here's your dealer. You should also add 1 for there, so now you're at +6. And we're thinking, hey, what's this gonna be? It ends up being a 4. So now we're gonna +1 again, we're at +7. All right, and so now that we're at +7, we really think, oh shoot, there's a lot of high cards in here because we're at +7. Why are we at +7? Because we've had a lot of low cards be removed from the deck, which means there's more higher cards, which is better for our dealer to bust. Okay, could you do this really, really fast? Find the count. This would be a +1. +1, -1, this is nothing, this is a +1, this is -1, this is +1. We've got cancel, cancel, 1 + 1 is 2. You want to be able to do that really, really fast. Okay, find the count of this. I'm just going to circle a few cards and see if you can get it done really fast. Oh, I guess I shouldn't do that, huh? Let's go with this. Okay, go, find the count. All right, let's come back here. So we know that if it is 6 or less, it's a +1. So we've got +1, +1, +1, +1, +1. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at +5. The 8 is a neutral card, neither helps nor hurts, so that's good. The 9 is also a neutral card that neither helps nor hurts. And then here I've got a -1, -1, -1, -1, -1, -1, -1, -1. So how many of those do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got a -7, gives me a count of -2, which means that there's actually more lower cards in the deck than higher cards. And this could also help you in terms of thinking whether you should hit or stay as well. All right. The question is card counting legal? Yes, it is legal, okay? There's nothing wrong with it. I want to show you this quick video. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. But it talks a little bit about, are you going to get beat up? Are you going to get thrown in jail? The short answer is absolutely not. Can you get kicked off their property? Yes, you can. But you'll never get in legal trouble because it's not illegal. You're just using your brain. But they can certainly ask you, hey, we don't want you to be on our property. This is private property, and we just don't want you to be gambling in our casino. So feel free to watch this video if you'd like. Oopsie. Oop, there it comes.
Y es que ciertamente, Carlos, nosotros planeamos tantas cosas en la vida, que los 15 años, que el bautizo, que el matrimonio.
Can casinos really throw you out just for being a card counter? If you end up learning card counting, are you just going to end up chained in the basement of a casino getting pistol whipped by security officers? In this video, I'm going to share everything you need to know about back-offs as a card counter. Maybe you've seen 21 the movie, or Rain Man, or even my back-off video here on YouTube, and I'm sure you have some questions, not the least of which is card counting even legal? Yes, card counting is perfectly legal. We card counters are simply using our brains to play blackjack to the best of our abilities. Fortunately for us, using our brains is perfectly legal, and that's all that we're doing as card counters. So then the next question is, well, what the heck? Casinos can just throw people out for using their brains? Isn't that illegal? The reality is a casino is a private business, and so they can refuse service to whoever they want as long as they aren't violating the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That means that privately owned businesses are not allowed to discriminate based on race, color, religion, or national origin. But, you know the sign, no shirt, no shoes, no service? That's because the grocery store can refuse service if you don't wear a shirt or you don't wear shoes because it doesn't have anything to do with the Civil Rights Act. Casinos operate in that same way where they say, you're using your brain, you're not welcome here. So for those who don't know me, I've been a card counter for a long time, over 15 years. I've won over $600,000. I've run teams, and our teams have won close to $4 million. And I've trained multiple 6- and even 7-figure card counters through Blackjack Apprenticeship to beat casinos at card counting. We're not doing anything illegal, and casinos are allowed to tell us they don't want us playing there. So that's what...
All right, folks, I'm going to have this link for you in the assignment as well if you want to continue watching this. But that's all I really wanted to show you. So it is legal. I don't promote gambling in any way because you certainly can lose lots of money. But know that I'm not teaching you anything illegal.